Here with me now, Democratic Congressman from Connecticut and ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Jim Himes. It's good to have you here. Good to have you on the show. You've called Netanyahu speaking before Congress a terrible idea, but now that the date is officially set, what do you think the implications are? And you will go, correct?
I will go. You know, I don't get into this. Am I boycotting this person's speech and boycotting that? My blanket policy is that, you know, I'm a member of the Congress, and if the leaders see fit to invite somebody, I don't get into trying to adjudicate where So yes, I will be there. I know that will strike some people as the wrong thing to do, but that's my policy. So it is a terrible idea, Chris, right? I mean, from Netanyahu's standpoint, the man is engaged in what he himself describes as sort of a life or death battle, and he's going to take the time to come to the United States in what is quite clearly a political move, right? You know, is he here to try to persuade us to pass an Israel support package? No, clearly not. We did that several weeks ago with my support. So what is he here for? Why is he not at home, you know, working 24/7 to release the hostages, to try to conduct this war in a more humane fashion? And he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt on this. He is here because the Speaker loves the fact that this is something that divides the Democratic Party. And the reason the Prime Minister doesn't get the benefit of the doubt on this is that I was there in 2015 when the Prime Minister made a speech to the Congress that was very clearly designed to create pushback against President Obama's desire to get an Iran nuclear deal done. So instead of doing what he should be doing, which is 24/7 on freeing the hostages, he's here participating in a Republican divide the Democrats stunt. I don't know who benefits from that.
Let me ask you about what happened today with the other war, which is President Biden met with President Zelensky of Ukraine. Some long-delayed aid was announced. And then he also invoked Ukraine in his huge speech at Pont du Hoc with echoes, clearly, of and mentioned of Ronald Reagan, who gave an extraordinary speech at that same place 20 years ago. Do you think that was purely historical, or did you hear political implications in the speech that the president gave today?
Well, if you mean partisan, no, I don't think it's partisan. Now, it is true that half of the Republican Party voted against Ukraine aid. I'm not sure that Joe Biden making the case for Ukraine is going to convince that half of the Republican Party to change their minds. But, you know, I think he feels this in his bones. I mean, he's decades a foreign policy guy on Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And I think that he doesn't miss an opportunity, particularly with the resonance, right? The last time Europe and the United States got together to fight a clearly evil invasion of a European country was World War II. And so I think he's trying to remind people that, you know, this is in my lifetime, there haven't been a lot of black, white, good, evil fights, but this is one of them. And I think the president wanted to remind people of that.
Remind maybe middle of the road voters or people who consider themselves Reagan Republicans what that phrase truly means. I'm here and I stand for those same things.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And, you know, it's not unusual for presidents to seek that context in which they are most powerful, and that is, of course, their role as commander-in-chief and as the individual who runs foreign policy, to demonstrate American resolve. And I think, you know, I think he looked strong, and I think it was a good moment for him.
So I have to ask you about some changes on your committee, the Intelligence Committee, which holds the nation's secrets. Two staunch Trump allies, Scott Perry and Ronnie Jackson, were named to it, reportedly, at least according to one report, without the knowledge of the chairman. This is a committee that really has worked hard and prided itself on not being partisan. What do you think these two additions mean?
Well, it was tough to absorb because Chairman Turner, who I compliment profusely in terms of his dedication to creating a bipartisan, not angry environment to do the incredibly important work of overseeing this, you know, $90 billion operation, which is the CIA and the NSA and all of our intelligence work. You know, if the accounts are true and the Speaker didn't even bother to let the chairman know, that's very, very tough. And, you know, there's been a long tradition in this committee. If you go back decades, you will see that parties, leaders, every leader has always appointed people whose reputation inside the House was as profoundly serious-minded and maybe even a little bit nonpartisan. That is not what happened here. And look, my job is to keep this committee sane, working with the chairman, so I'm not going to prejudge what may happen. But I'll tell you, you know, Congressman Perry's statement upon being appointed to the committee that he's going to get there and start doing real oversight, that is that was painful to see. That was just so derogatory to the chairman and to any number of members who have devoted, 8, 9, 10 hours a day to doing this really, really hard work. So I'm going to remain optimistic, but it's a tough moment. Well, look, if I got personally offended by everything that happened in the United States Congress, I wouldn't have time for everything else. So I'm going to keep my head down. We're going to hope that, Congressman Perry and his colleague rise to this occasion because, again, we're the only people who see what this massive operation is doing, and we have to avoid ever getting back to that place when it was highly politicized and most people looked at the House Intelligence Committee and said that's a disaster. We can't be there again.
Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut, thanks for coming across the border. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.